I just wanted to bring up and talk about for a minute some of the new announcements that were just brought out by Blizzard for patch 9.2 for Shadowlands. So if you guys haven't heard, there is a 9.2 patch coming. It's going to be on the PTR, I think, like next week. Probably not for a couple weeks, but it could be next week. And this is kind of going to be their last patch, I think, for Shadowlands. That's what it's looking like anyway. Usually it's the point 0.3 patch. That's like the last one, but I think that it's going to be this patch right here. And the reason is because they're just giving us so much stuff in this patch, guys. It's going to be really cool. So I'm going to highlight the patch really quickly, and then I want to talk about another website that Hero actually showed me. Hero from the Birds. He showed me this website here, and I'm going to talk about this for a second once we're done. But let's quickly go through this. So 9.2 is coming. There's going to be obviously the continuation of the story from where we left off in 9.15 with Sanctum of Domination and the Jailer, and we're going to continue those story arcs. So there is going to be a new raid. So Sepulchre are the first ones. That's a new raid. It's got 11 bosses. Anduin's in there, and the Jailer is in there. That's going to be really cool. There's a new zone, Zereth Mortis. It's going to be like way bigger than Korthia. And it's just gonna be another zone for dailies, and there's gonna be rep grind in there. There's gonna be stuff to do on a daily basis. It looks really beautiful. So if you haven't seen the video already, guys, there is a video on on you can go to MMO Champion or anywhere. There's an announcement video of what's going on here. But um, here's some of the biggest things that I wanted to get to. Okay, first of all, there's going to be tier sets, okay, which is the return of tier sets, something we've been waiting for a super long time. We don't have any information on the logistics of the tier sets yet, like the actual nitty gritty details of what abilities they're buffing and for every class. Like we don't know, but they are coming, which is really awesome. I think Blizzard's been intentionally quiet about what each tier set's going to do. Um, and then on top of the tier sets, the other enormous announcement is this one. Players will have access to new level tiers for legendary items that require materials. You'll be able to equip 2 legendaries at once, one regular one and one covenant one. So you can't just pick 2 regular legendaries. You have to pick one of the covenant ones and then obviously one of the other ones, but which is still great. There's lots of classes in which this is an enormous benefit, and it'll be a benefit to everybody, like no matter what. But some classes are absolutely going to benefit much more than some other ones. Like there's some synergies amongst the legendaries that are really great. So these are the 2 biggest things I want to bring up right now. Tier sets are coming, and we're going to have to sort of reevaluate all of our build planning once tier sets do go live because we don't know what they are yet. So they could dramatically change um, sort of the different builds that we're going to come up with, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But they're coming. It's very exciting. Double legendaries, very exciting. So it looks like in this patch 9.2, they're kind of like taking the chains off, so to speak. We're taking the gloves off, and they're just giving us the freedom to run around and do whatever we want. Um, this is going to be a ton of fun. If you're not already sort of resub to the game, you should probably resub for 9.2 because it's going to be an absolute ton of fun. So yeah, that's it. New raid, tier sets, double legendaries. So let's get into really quickly the nitty gritty of what that means. So this is a really cool website that again Hero brought to my attention from the Birds. I'll link his channel and stuff in the bottom of this video so you can go check out his stuff. But what's going on here? So because we're getting 2 legendaries, um, we need to sort of be able to evaluate to a degree how is that going to affect our characters? What are some good legendary combinations? What are the best, like, what's going to give me the most power? If you're looking for just like raw power, in particular, in this case, raw damage, we're not even talking about survivability, we're just talking about damage. This site helps you to get there. So let's look at Paladin, for example. This is a class that I main in our guild right now. So you click on the icon. So what did we clicked on the hammer, or was it? Okay, there it is. Clicked on the hammer. We're already here. You can just click on protection or retribution. Um, let's just go protection because that's what I play. It has a whole bunch of information here. What it does is it's showing you if you click on soul binds, which we're on right now, it'll show you what are the best soul binds pound for pound that will get you more damage. If you're it's just showing you a list here. So if you have pointed courage for protection paladins, that gives you the most damage of any soulbind period. This little soulbind trait, I don't even, this is a Kyrian one, I forget which soulbind this is even on, but this trait gets you the most damage pound for pound. The next one would be, this is the Mechanicos final, the very final one in Mechanicos, that's his thing, and then Braun himself. So these are obviously, two of these are Mechanicos. So basically what this list is telling you is that if you're just looking at soul binds and you want more damage, you need to go Mechanicos, and then whatever, I don't know, I don't know which soul bind this is from, sorry. Now, let's switch over really quickly to Legendaries because that's what we actually want to talk about. It goes through all the information, guys. You can look at trinkets, what are the best trinkets to have, consumables, what are the best consumables to use, races, combinations, blah, blah, blah. But for now, I want to look at legendaries really quick. There's another row of stuff here to look at, which we'll get to in a second. It compares raid boss single target versus raid boss with ads versus mythic plus. Very important distinction. We'll get to it in a second. I want to look at the legendary tab. If you're playing protection paladin, what is the most damage you can pump out? Well, you're going to want to take the Mad Paragon plus Radiant Embers. That is a combination that we can do with this new patch that's coming. You can go Venthyr, you can get the Radiant Embers legendary, and you can combine it with the Mad Paragon legendary, and that will help you pump out the most damage you possibly can. How much damage? Well, it kind of shows you right here. If you take Mad Paragon, if you look at this, it says you're going to get about an 8% increase in damage. If you take Radiant Embers, you're going to get about a 6% increase in damage. So if you combine those together, that's 14% more damage if you take these two legendaries and combine them. Does that make sense? That's kind of what this is telling you. Now, this doesn't account for sort of the nitty-gritty of how you're playing that character. Like, how does that work out? It just raw numbers. This is what it's giving you here. So for example, like with the Radiant Embers legendary, this is assuming that you are standing in the Ashen Hallow for the full 45-second duration, which isn't always the case. Sometimes you can't always do that on a raid boss, like a mechanic comes out and you have to move. So take this with a grain of salt. This is just sort of like ballpark numbers here. But that's for a raid. That's single target for a raid. What if we go to Mythic Plus? In Mythic Plus, it's actually the same for Protection Paladin. They're saying you should take Radiant Embers and the Mad Paragon. Those are the top ones. If you start going down the list a little bit, you can see Bulwark makes its appearance here. And again, they're also showing you what build you could be running, etc., to get the most out of the damage. Again, we're not talking about survivability, just damage. Um, let's look at just another one that's fun for me really quick. We'll go over to Hunter. We'll go to Survival Hunter because I know you guys, everybody plays Survival Hunter. We're going to look at Legendaries. For single target, they've got Nessingwary's Trap Apparatus at the very top. If you take Nessingwary's and you play, again, it's a big gameplay change, but if you play it appropriately, this is going to give you 15% more damage. And then in 9.2, you can go Venthyr and then also take the Pouch legendary. So you can combine Nessingwary's with the Pouch, and you'll get an extra 6% damage there and 15% damage there. So if you have these two legendaries on Survival Hunter, you will be getting about 21, almost 22% more damage. Okay? Which is not too shabby. Nothing wrong with that. Mythic Plus. What about Mythic Plus? Boom, let's go over here because that was just single target. Look at this, guys. All of a sudden, Bag of Munitions is up here, which is the Necrolord legendary for the Death Chakram. You throw out your Death Chakram and two targets will get an explosive shot put on them, and then those will detonate after 3 seconds, I think. That's what explosive shot is. So, like, look at the difference there. You go single target raid boss, you have this completely different setup. You should go probably Venthyr with Nessingwary's. That's kind of what they're telling you. If you want to go Mythic Plus, Necrolord is good with Wildfire Cluster, which makes sense, right? So every time you throw your Wildfire Bomb, it puts out a bunch of extra little bombs. And then every time you throw your Death Chakram, it's going to bounce around. And if there's two targets, at least two targets, then you will get two explosive shots as well, which do a lot of damage. So Survival Hunter is like one of those weird, obviously nobody really plays Survival Hunter. I love to play it. I'm going to be trying this in 9.2. I'm going to level up these legendaries. I actually already have them on my hunter. I'm just gonna make sure that I get their eye level up. But I'm gonna try this, guys. Survival Hunter is one of those weird ones where it's very, very different for single target raid boss versus Mythic Plus. But let's just look at actually Shaman. I want to look at Shaman, Enhancement Shaman, because I'm also going to be looking at Enhancement Shaman stuff. This is some of the build guides that I'm going to be putting out actually soon. We're going to look at, excuse me, Enhancement Shaman. We're going to look at legendaries. What are the best legendaries for Enhancement Shaman for pure damage, guys? Keep in mind, excuse me, this is just pure damage. What are we talking about here? This is single target raid boss damage. This says you should take Witch Doctor, Wolf Bones, and Seed of Rampant Growth. So you'd have to go Night Fae, you take the Seed Legendary, and you take Witch Doctors. Why is this so good? This is actually something that I own both of these now, and I'm going to be testing them. We actually did extensive testing. I did it with Hero yesterday. I'm going to show a video on that soon. But basically, these two legendaries combined will help you get your Feral Spirit cooldown back, like repeatedly. There will be moments in a fight where you can have 4 dogs out at once, because Feral Spirits gives you 2 dogs, right? But because of how much cooldown reduction you're getting out of these two legendaries put together, you will have a moment, probably at least 10 or 12 seconds, of having 4 dogs out at the same time, which is just like super, super cool. And obviously, you're going to take the talent that, the Elemental Spirits talent that makes your dogs have extra elemental powers and they buff you, and so you do more damage. But this is cool, guys. You can see if you take Witch Doctor Bones, it's a 13% increase, and Seeds of Rampant Growth is about 8.5. So that's like a 22% increase on single target raid boss. Once again, this is like a single target encounter. If you're looking to up your single target damage for Enhancement Shaman, you should be taking these two legendaries in 9.2. That's kind of what it's telling you. Again, pretty close behind actually. Primal Lava Actuators is actually not too far behind, which is really exciting. It means that there's multiple builds. Like it's 7.5%. Seas is only 8.5. Witch Doctor Bones is definitely ahead of the curve here, but like that's not too far behind, guys. So there's different options. There's also the one that procs Ascendance. There are different options you can look at, which is very exciting. What about Mythic Plus for Enhancement Shamans? Well, it's a completely different idea. Again, this isn't something that you like have to do. It's just a suggestion. It's an idea for if you want to pump out the absolute most amount of damage. What should you combine? You should be combining deeply rooted elements or doom winds. Remember, these are both just generic legendaries, so you can't have both of these. You can choose one of these, and then they're saying the best covenant legendary is the Raging Vortex one for Vesper Totem, which is Kyrian. So they're basically saying if you wanted to strictly focus on Mythic Plus as an enhancement shaman, you should look at going Kyrian, taking the Vesper Totem legendary, and then combining the Vesper Totem legendary with either deeply rooted elements or Doom Winds, whichever playstyle you prefer. That's going to get you sort of the most amount of damage. 10% here, 8% there. The Vesper Totem one's 7.5. So you're looking at a 10% buff plus a 7.5. That's 17.5% more damage if you combine these two. Now, it's not to say that you can't go down and take Seed of Rampant Growth, which would be the Night Fae legendary, but it's quite a bit lower according to this sort of chart. It's quite a bit lower than taking the Vesper Totem Legendary in a strictly Mythic Plus AoE setting. That's what we're talking about, right? Again, it depends what kind of content you want to tackle. If you do both types of content, then you might have to do a little bit more farming. If you want to be like 100% optimal, which you don't have to be, but this is just giving you a ballpark idea of like, if you want to focus on Mythic Plus, you should probably think about going Kyrian and grabbing these combinations. If you're thinking about just doing raiding, this is a really good combination here. So like what this really tells me, what's really exciting about this is that there are multiple builds, guys. There's going to be multiple builds that you can do in 9.2. Think about how many legendaries there are in the game for each class. There's like, for each spec, there's like 5 or 6 generic legendaries that do different things. And then there's 4 covenants. So you have 4 other choices to link up your second legendary with. So there's a whole bunch, guys. You can look at like BM Hunter, which lots of people play. If you're looking at Raid for BM Hunter, They're talking about, again, Pouch, so you probably think about going Venthyr, and then maybe Ryla Stalkers. So you can combine these two, and it looks like you're going to get 5.5 plus 8. That's like about 13, 14% more damage if you combine Ryla Stalkers and Pouch. Again, it's not accounting for the fact that you're going to be getting extra kill shots that you're going to be firing, and like what damage does that do? It doesn't account for. It's accounting for some of that. It's giving like an RPM. Some they've simmed this, so but it's not accounting for like the mechanics you might have to do or whatever. This is just sort of raw numbers to look at. But it's really exciting. And this is a really fun chart that you guys can utilize if you're looking to just boost your damage. You just click on Mage. I want to play Fire Mage. I want to look at the legendaries for Fire Mage. What am I looking at here? Sun King's Blessing plus, that looks like that's absolutely number one. I don't know where the Heart of the Fae, looks like Heart of the Fae. Is there a fire one I'm missing? There's probably a fire one I'm missing here. I don't play Mage, so bear with me here, but anyway, you can see it here. You can combine the two things. Looks like you should just take Sun King's Blessing for sure, and then whichever covenant you want afterwards. There's not necessarily a huge disparity there. If you're looking at like Assassination Rogue, it looks like they've got the Dashing Scoundrel, which is your generic legendary, plus the Flagellation, sorry, legendary. That looks like it's going to give you maybe the most amount of damage. But again, Flagellation legendary is looking at 6.5%. The Night Fae legendary is 4.5%. That's not a big difference, guys. That's a 2% difference. So if you really like playing Night Fae with Sepsis, then just do it, and then combine it with the Dashing Scoundrel one. Bottom line here, guys, is that we're getting a ton of buffs. We're getting the double legendary buff is going to be absolutely massive. And we're going to be producing some videos. I'm going to be producing some videos on the different builds that you can do, um, specifically for classes like Shaman and for Paladin, which are the ones that I play. I'm going to do some Survival Hunter stuff for you Survival Hunter nerds. And we're going to talk about what two legendaries work really well together. What builds are we looking at doing? There's like an Enhancement Shaman Fire build that I think is going to be really good, like a Fire Nova plus Lava Lash build. That's going to be quite strong. I think the strongest is going to be this Witch Doctor Bones plus Night Fae, which gives you your Feral Spirits. The uptime on Feral Spirits is going to be like 100% in a dungeon. Um, it's just they're gonna be up all the time, which is really exciting. That's definitely a new take on things. Yeah, and then obviously we're talking about all of this without even knowing what's coming with the tier sets. And so as soon as we can jump on the PTR, we're going to get into that and look at the tier sets and try to figure out exactly what um, bonuses we're going to get from that. I mean, there's going to be a 2-piece and a 4-piece bonus. Maybe they're just bonkers. Like maybe they're absolutely crazy. Um, One other thing I wanted to show with this actually is for Shaman, I also run a lot of Resto Shaman. So we can't actually see it here, but you can see what are the best legendary combinations for um, Elemental Shaman. And we can't take Wind Speakers, obviously, because if we're running let's just say we're running Resto Shaman. Let's say you're looking at running Resto Shaman, but you want to do as much damage as possible in like a Mythic Plus setting, okay? Right here, you can get both of these legendaries. You can take Seeds of Rampant Growth, and you can take Echoes of the Great Sundering. So like if you want to focus primarily on Mythic Plus as a Resto Shaman and you're like, I want to pump damage for my team to help them push those super high keys, getting to like 18, 19 plus 20 keys, you as a healer, you need to be doing a lot of damage. It looks like you could be doing something like Seeds of Rampant Growth into the Echoes of the Great, which is where you're, or sorry, not Echoes of the Great Sundering. I'm actually thinking of a different one. There's different combinations. I was thinking of Deep Tremor Stone, which is again you put your Earth Elliot and he just has an earthquake around him. That's what a lot of Resto Shamans are doing right now. That's the legendary they're taking. So let's say you go Resto Shaman and you take the Deep Tremor Stone. So you're getting your Earthquake permanently on your Ellie. On top of that, you could go Kyrian and take the Raging Vesper Vortex. I've been running this Raging Vortex on my Resto Shaman. I'm doing like 5-6K DPS on AoE packs, like just by dropping this thing. You just drop the totem, it does so much damage with Mechanicos. So even as like Resto Shaman or like a Resto Druid or something, there's going to be some really, really fun combinations that you can do that either help your healing or help you do damage. But bottom line, guys, There's a ton of options here. We're going to start to explore some of them in the videos that I'm going to do. We're going to have some build guides coming up on what combinations are really, really strong, what combinations are just fun to play. And again, we don't know anything about the tier sets. That's going to be amazing when that comes out as well. When it comes to earning these rewards, just so you guys know, tier sets are going to come from raids and the Great Vault, which is very important to know. It's also going to come from PvP or dungeons. They're giving us the option to get these tier sets from anywhere. After patch 9.2 releases, you'll unlock the Forge of Creation, earn a new currency. This currency, along with a base item from PvP or dungeons, can be transformed into a tier set piece. So the bottom line is, whether you're doing raid or PvP or dungeons, you will be able to acquire these tier sets as well and to get these bonuses rolling. So anyway, that's it for this video, guys. There's so many exciting things coming in 9.2. I can't wait to get into it with you, and stay tuned for some upcoming build guides. All right, see you later.